You have to first start from the point of view that whoever gains supremacy with AI gets to rule the world. Whoever gains, I'll even add one more word. This is a whole discussion in itself. Whoever gains quantum computing, quantum AI supremacy, rules the world forever. Because at that point, there's no encryption that's safe. Every secret, every military tactic, strategy, every communication line, every financial exchange, bank account, everything is open.
Minus 15 seconds.
Vehicle flight pressures.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Hello and welcome, independent researchers, skeptics, and all of humankind, to Shadow Citizen. Shadow Citizen will explore the shadows of an alternate reality. Your hosts, Rachel L. McIntosh.
All right, everybody, we made it through yet another week. Today on Shadow Citizen, I sought this person out. The person I'm talking about is Joe Bantam. I had interviewed Allison McDowell, and I realized he was kind of hanging around in her Facebook area, and he was talking about artificial intelligence, and he was talking about singularity. He's talking about all these different cryptocurrency. What is this? Because I really feel like I don't have a full grasp on this, and that he was hanging around Allison, who was talking about education, going to the impact bonds, and then she did a special segment with us about Rhode Island, and that's where I live, how our governor was very active in the social impact bond thing. And I was like, what is this all about? And it looked like it was all stemming to something, like I didn't know. So I got this man, Joe Bantam, to show up on the show, and I'm going to act as the person that asks every question you ever wanted to ask and never thought of. And here is Joe Bantam. Joe, thanks for being with us. Why don't you tell us what your background is, so that and I will jump in with the questions as we go.
Thank you for having me here. I kind of feel honored.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, as you said, I've been in the circle around Allison because she kind of brought in a missing element to all the things that I've been noticing, and that was the financial investment portion, the financial end of the technology. I've been keeping track of the fourth industrial revolution for a number of years. I'm an engineer, I'm an electronics engineer, software engineer. I've been working with games, developing games for 30 years. I'm also a former military guy. For 13 years, I was in the Army, combat veteran. So I've been watching the progression of technology in how it's being deployed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been, well, up until a few years ago, it was getting a little bit worse. And understanding how the technology works. Because as a game developer, you get to see an assortment of tech in order to bring games forward. You have to understand how a lot of the algorithms work in technology. You have to understand depending on the game that you're developing, the type of impact it's going to have on the player, what kind of environment the player is working in, and within the game itself, you have to understand that there is an economy that's happening inside a game. There are players that are transacting with other players. And in some games, like role-playing games, RPG games, you have players that are transacting either these digital assets that represent physical objects, 3D objects, with other, trading objects with other objects or selling and buying. So as a game developer, understanding these different concepts required learning new technology and ways of making the gameplay better. So one of the technologies that I ended up having to learn on my own, I didn't have to learn it, but I just my curiosity, and I knew that this was the direction to go, was with blockchain, the cryptocurrency.
Blockchain. Okay, so let's define that, because that's a word that's used a lot. A blockchain. What does blockchain mean?
Okay, blockchain is, simply put, without getting into details of how it actually works and implements, it's a database. That's all it is.
It's a database?
A database.
Okay.
It's a think of it as a record book.
Mm-hmm.
And if you and I do a business deal and we have a record book, I can mark it down in the book. But you want a copy of the book too. So you get a copy of this book. But if I make let's say I go home and I make a new entry into the book, now the book doesn't match your book. Okay, think of those two books as blocks. Okay, or rather chains. Okay, a set of blocks. So what blockchain does is it makes sure that when you write an entry into the book, everybody gets a copy of that book, so that no one can cheat. It's supposed to be transparent. So whenever a transaction occurs out in the public, it gets placed into a block, right? Let's think of the block as a page in the book. And then everybody gets a new copy of that book. A brand new copy of the book. And they are all what they call cryptographically hashed, which means there's a unique number that was generated for that block, depending on the content of that block.
Okay.
So, did I lose you?
Well, yeah, a little. Because, okay, so now me and you, let's say we're doing a transaction. You have a book, I have a book, and I'm picturing like an accounting ledger, like one of those big accounting ledger books, and you have a big accounting ledger book. And then instantly we make this transaction, instantly, both of our books, we get a brand new one that shows we both did this transaction together.
Exactly.
And it's in it, who, and you said it's on a block, it makes a chain.
Yes.
Here's my question. Who owns the whole big book that these chains are going into?
Okay, that's a good question. Depends which blockchain you're talking about.
Oh, it's more than one.
Some are owned. The original blockchains like Bitcoin and so forth are distributed. So nobody owns it. It's public. All you have to do is, in theory, right, put up a computer that acts as they call it a node. You could be it's a server. You're just a server. You put a computer that's a server that acts as a node. A node is just a point in a graph. Okay, so you have this big network, and each point in the network is a node. So everyone on that network who acts as a node is now going to be a contributor. You end up being a contributor to the network.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, the way that the blockchain works is that in order to decide who gets to write the transaction, because you get these like groups of transactions, they all come in clusters. And then those clusters have to be written to the book.
As a chunk, a whole bunch of
A chunk, and that's called a block.
Okay.
Okay, a block is a group of transactions.
Within an amount of time or amount?
Yeah. For
Okay.
Bitcoin, it's within the last 10 minutes.
Oh, it's usually within 10 minutes. Okay,
Within
good.
a 10-minute time span. So within that time, because a block is written every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, a new block is generated.
Okay.
In the Bitcoin network.
Right, which is all over the world.
Which is the whole world. And Bitcoin is being generated. New Bitcoins are being generated every 10 minutes.
Because of these transactions?
Because because of transaction, yes, but because someone on the network is basically winning a mathematical lottery. So the question is, who gets to write to the blockchain? You have all these players. And everybody wants to write to the blockchain, because if you write to the blockchain, you get awarded a Bitcoin as a node, as a server. Your reward for writing to the blockchain is the brand new coins that are generated, Bitcoin.
Okay.
Brand new, they're yours. And they're worth money.
All right, and that's what people call mining?
That's called mining.
Okay, yeah.
So now in order to win the rights to write to the Bitcoin, to the network, you have to solve a mathematical puzzle. It's a mathematical quiz that your server has to randomly spit out just a bunch of numbers that are astronomically big, and you have to hope that you get it. It turns out only the most powerful computers can do this, can participate.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an incredibly CPU, not even CPU, GPU, graphics processor. But it's okay. I'm going off. It's very intensive in terms of your processor. Your computer processor has to work really hard, generating a lot of heat, burning up a lot of electricity, trying to solve this problem.
Question.
Yeah.
Who the answer to this problem?
What
does this problem that the computer is working on? What is it solving, and who gets the answer?
It's random. That's how the random selection is done.
Oh, so it's a random, really auto problem that's bouncing around. It's already been solved. It's not like
a mathematical problem. It's just
okay.
a mathematical problem. And in order to solve the problem of who gets to write to the chain and not somebody who's entitled or who's more rich than the other,
mm-hmm.
right? In order to make it appear more fair,
right,
for everybody, whether you're rich or poor, whoever can solve the mathematical puzzle gets to win the rights to write.
Okay.
So
it's completely that has always mystified me, because I'm like, is this some sort of like, who are we solving some problem for? I don't know, space alien or something. What are we doing? Yeah. What is this?
There's nothing useful. The problem is not a solution to a world problem.
Okay.
It's just a mathematical cryptographic puzzle.
And we're using electricity to make our computer heat
up,
blow up our computer CPU, and now we do that just so we get our Bitcoin. Okay, all right.
Lottery. To win the lottery.
Yeah, it's a lottery.
You literally, it is winning the lottery. So if you're the one that solved the puzzle, you got the number, they match. You declare, I won. All the networks stop. They look, they confirm, and then you get to write. And then they start all over with a new puzzle.
Okay, that's every 10 minutes.
And every 10 minutes. And somebody else might win.
Now you said that you have to have a very, like at least a decent computer to try to
Oh, you
solve.
have to have a hell of a computer. And so a lot of these mining pools, they share resources. They get involved with a pool.
Oh wow!
They're on cloud computers,
Right.
cloud computing systems.
And back it up. A cloud system like Azure is Microsoft.
Yeah,
Like what is a cloud? Tell people what the cloud is if they haven't already
it's
done.
just a farm. A cloud computing are just farms, rows and rows and rows of computers stacked that um, allow you to use their computing process by the amount of work you might do or
All right.
whatever.
So for instance,
Basically a buying computer time.
okay, yeah. So I know that BlackRock uses their artificial intelligence, and it's called Aladdin, and it's controlling the U.S. stock market pretty much at this point, and it runs on Azure. But
Yeah,
Microsoft,
Azure is Microsoft
yeah,
Cloud.
yeah. So that's the cloud that they're using. So
Yeah,
this
Amazon has
this other company is using just this banks of computers. All right, so continue on. So this is keep going.
right. So you have a lot of these computers. These computers end up pooling with each other in order to increase their chances of winning. But if there's a bunch of pools. They're pretty big and powerful now at this point, which goes against the whole concept of decentralization.
Right.
These mining pools have become centralized. A lot of them are in nations like China, uh, and a lot of them are owned, believe it or not, are run by centralized groups, and there's money involved, and there's some of them are funded by banks.
Yeah.
So yeah, you start to get these clusters. It's supposed to be disparate, but then they start to cluster. Okay, so decentralized is no longer decentralized. You have now clusters, groups, and uh, last time I read, something like 40 to 50% of all the mining power of Bitcoin is clustered into mining pools.
Mining what? I'm sorry.
Mining pools. Those
Mining
mining
pools. Yeah. Mhm.
That's like half of the crypto world is is operated on mining pools,
Okay.
farms, clouds that are controlled. So see, the
How
danger
much
is
energy would you say this takes up? This whole Bitcoin phenomena.
it's a ridiculous amount of energy.
Oh.
It is.
So this isn't really like how everybody says this Green New Deal and the eco stuff.
There's nothing green about it.
Okay, go on.
It's in order to have electricity in the real world. In order to have electricity, most countries that have electricity, the U.S. is included, China too, have to dig into the earth and dig up coal in order
So
to
there's
set up.
real mining involved. There's real
Real
actual
mining.
mining going on.
Yeah, you have to dig up coal. You have to burn coal in order to get your coal furnaces and get your heat generated
Mhm.
for your
Electric.
electrical turbines,
Right.
and then create your electricity for your grid, for the power grid. That's how you get electricity. Or you can get electricity. In some cases, you can get it from windmills or from the ocean, but that's not really prevalent. Most of it is coming from the ground. Okay, coal.
Okay. All right.
So when you're using as much electrical energy as the whole blockchain ecosystem is, which is as much as an entire nation a year, that's a lot of energy
Yeah.
you're burning. The earth has to be scraped up in order to sustain Bitcoin.
Okay. All right.
Okay, you have to literally tear the earth up in order to sustain Bitcoin.
All
Literally.
right. All right. All right. So now we I hope people kind of get more of a grip about Bitcoin. So we talked about blockchain. We talked about Bitcoin. The prevailing word that people always hear is crypto. What now? Bitcoin, I imagine, is crypto. It's a cryptocurrency. Now, what does crypto mean, though? What does it mean? Because I think it means not just currency. I mean, crypto in general means having to do with computers, correct, or code,
Yeah, crypto is
or?
Just the representation of, some people might call it a token. It's a representation of a transaction, an entry into the book.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Let's say you and I have, going back to the book. I have a book, you have a book, right? And, well, just one book. Let's just keep one book.
Okay.
I have a book. And you and I make a transaction, and I place it down, and I'm in debt to you, right?
As well, you should be. No, I'm just kidding. All right, go ahead.
That's good. I like that. So I'm in debt to you. So I give you a receipt, right?
Uh,
Saying that this, well, actually, it's the other way around. Because the other way around is, you have the receipt saying that you are owed so much. Okay?
all right.
You have this receipt that says, I owe you this much. Let's say it's worth $10. I owe you $10. You might as well say it's guaranteed that I will pay you back. If this receipt is worth $10. You can go ahead with this receipt and buy, let's say, $10 worth of goods with somebody else that recognizes that this book is valid. He'll take it because he can redeem it. He can take this receipt and redeem it. So you can transfer it.
Okay. Can I say something? Is that very similar to a US dollar?
That's the
So
same
the
thing.
US dollar is based on debt.
Right.
But because
It's the same thing.
the same sort of idea. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you have this receipt.
Mm-hmm.
Now replace that instead with, you have this digital entry into the blockchain, and you create a token, a digital token that says you are owed this. That's what that is. It's the same thing. That token that you're receiving does not exist outside, does not exist outside the blockchain. All it is, Bitcoin or whatever, is just it's just pointing to the blockchain. It points to the entry. That's all it is. What you're walking with is just a pointer to an entry in the book.
Okay. Now
So,
these other cryptos on like Coinbase or any of these other exchanges.
yeah, they're just digital receipts of what's written in the book.
In the same blockchain that Bitcoin is on, or a different
No,
blockchain?
they're different blockchains.
They're different blockchains. Okay.
Yeah, there are different types of blockchains, but they're all entries on the book. They're written there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Bitcoin lives. It lives on the blockchain as a written entry.
Okay.
And what makes it powerful and attractive to everybody is that once it's written into the blockchain, it can't be erased, so it's safe. Okay. The only way that you can steal it is to steal the person's coin, his receipt. You have to steal his receipt. The money is always there. It will never leave. The entry will never leave the Bitcoin, the block, the blockchain.
Yeah.
It will always be on the chain, but it's the receipt that people are trying to steal. Which it's that too lives on the blockchain, but you get a representation of it on your phone.
Okay.
QR code.
Yeah.
QR code is the address of where your money is resting.
Okay.
So if I can get your QR code, your public key, there's a private and public key. If I can get your public key, that gives me access to your entry, and I can take it.
Wait, ho. All right, so wait a second. So I have my little QR code that I put up on my, to buy and sell my books. I accept Bitcoin.
To buy and sell your current.
But besides my actual physical books that I've written, my novels.
Oh, yeah,
I put it on my website that I have this little QR code, and some people have, and I've got some money sitting in there, the Bitcoin money sitting there. And I never really touched. So but somebody can, if they see that QR code, now they have access to my, tell me, keep going. What happens?
No. A QR code is just an identification system.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Okay.
So your books, almost all goods, all physical goods have this either a barcode or a QR code on them now.
Yes.
And all that does is it identifies that book, what it is, based on something that's already placed in some database.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So if I scan it with either a camera or laser, I can easily identify what it is up against what's in a database and be able to identify the product. Okay. Now, you can add more information, such as with crypto. The QR code, is pointing
Yeah.
to entry on a book.
Okay.
Well, actually, in this particular case, it's not pointing to the entry; it's pointing to the key. It's the key, and the key is what points to the entry.
All right. So this seems to me that this is a little more complicated than back in the day. Somebody just write a novel or, weave a blanket or bake a cake. Somebody comes to your store, the little bell rings, and you put into your type, like your not your typewriter, but your change box, and you took the money and they go on their way with the thing. Now this seems like it's much more complex. We got big mathematical problems that have to be solved. Yeah.
As a user, right, as a consumer, you don't want to worry too much about these things. It's in real world use. You would just show up at your vendor,
Mm-hmm.
have your item that you want to buy,
Mm-hmm.
the loaf of bread on the counter. He scans it with his however he enters it into the register. Then he'll display to you the cost. And instead of telling you, oh, it's going to be $5, which you still might say it's $5, you might say, oh, it's five micro tokens. And just use a micro.
Yeah, making something up. Yeah, yeah.
As a generic thing. Okay, it's going to cost you 5 micro tokens. So is it okay? You bring up your phone. On his little screen, it shows a QR code. And on your phone, you set up as you're going to give him 5 micro tokens. You bring up your phone, enter 5 micro tokens, put it up against his QR code on the screen, and voila, transaction done. You're done. You're finished. You don't have to know anything about technology. You just have to know how to do that. Just put your phone up against his QR code, transaction done, confirmed. He'll tell you goodbye. You say goodbye. Take your break.
That's it. So for the end user, i.e. me, who needs to go buy a loaf of bread, this will seem like this is really easy. You don't even have to take out money. That's all supposedly all germy now with coronavirus. You don't have to deal with any of that. You're like, okay, here's my code, your code. We go through the blockchain and it's bing. Now the
transaction is instant. The confirmation is done instantaneously.
All right. So now that a hypothetical coin that you just brought up, that has to be me and the baker have to be on the same blockchain, or do I have to jump from another blockchain to get to his?
You could get, well, okay, if it's the same blockchain, then it's easy because there's no conversion.
And that would make, like, if we had a community, like a small community, like say this little town, their baker and me and everybody in that town were on the same community blockchain. Would that be something?
You could do that.
Okay.
You could do that, but you have to have a miner. You have to have servers that are running, and there are issues with that. The security of your network is only as strong as the number of miners that are on.
Okay, so this is an important element of this new, the new money. But obviously, every IT guys and security guys are really, really important. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, we can keep going into the different layers, and I mean, there's a lot more involved. in terms of the different types of blockchains, like you just said, one blockchain to another, the exchanges, where sometimes going from one crypto coin to another requires an exchange
Right.
of coins.
And that's why I see people making money. They set up an exchange.
Oh yeah, they're constantly they're trading for different types of coins. The these the standard coin, you might say the mother of all coins is Bitcoin.
Okay.
Almost every coin that you invest in usually has to be done through way of Bitcoin. Because
Okay.
a lot of these other third party, these not third party, but altcoin, as they're called,
Right.
alternate Bitcoin. These other altcoins uh, have set themselves up only to do transactions, exchanges with Bitcoin. Almost all of them, every single one of them, can at least do an exchange with Bitcoin, and they might not even be on the listed on an exchange. But if you go to their site, they set up their code so that you can exchange. So,
Okay.
Bitcoin and Ethereum, those are the two uh,
Powerhouses.
powerhouses
Yeah.
in the crypto market.
All right. So now here's my question about, since we're now going into this whole crypto thing. Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're not connected, or they are? Because they're two very different. It looks like Ethereum's taken off. It looks like lots of stuff is connected to Ethereum.
They're totally different.
Totally different.
And they're totally different. Ethereum
Why is Ethereum taking off? In your opinion?
Ethereum serves a different purpose. Yes, they sell tokens. They sell the ether tokens. But the Ethereum network serves a completely different purpose. Bitcoin is more of a store value.
Okay.
Where you invest and you keep your money there. It's
like gold, like gold.
Yeah, and it's not even really good for everyday transactions because the transaction time is slow.
Okay, it's 10 minutes.
The confirmation, the time to plus it's getting expensive too. But
yeah,
it's getting expensive, which is another issue. There's a lot of issues
with Bitcoin. Okay.
Bitcoin. I can get into them later, but there's a lot, and it breaks down. It's not really practical. Okay, so Ethereum is a platform for smart contracts, which
small
is
contracts.
Big.
Okay.
Smart contracts. Smart contracts is really, for me, very worrisome. It has great potential, but it has 10 times more potential to do harm.
Okay, talk about that. Why? What happens? What?
Okay, well, a smart contract, we have to first
Define that.
understand what smart contract is.
Mm-hmm.
It's think of these tokens, these digital entries, right, on the blockchain as programmable entries, little snippets of code. Okay, rather than just putting, the pointing to an entry of a transaction, you're placing small snippets of code on the blockchain. That's what's living on there. Those small snippets of code are contracts. They're instructions. Okay. Now, when you look at it from the surface, it seems okay. For example, when you go to a vending machine like a soda machine or
Yeah.
and let's say you want to buy a product for $1. Okay, you put in exactly 4 quarters, let's say, pulled out $1 worth of change into the machine, and you get your product, whatever is worth $1. If you want something that's $1.25 and you put in $1, you're not going to get that product. You press the button and it doesn't come out. You have to add another quarter. You have to fulfill the contract. The contract says you put in 5 quarters, you get the product as $1.25. If you want the product as $1, you put 4 quarters. Okay, so the machine has a program, and you have to honor the terms of the agreement for that product. So you go ahead and it works. And so you don't need a third party. You don't need a salesman or anything. Nobody's gonna jip you. Well, not that machines don't jip you sometimes, but yeah, I've had my product get stuck.
Yeah. I think everybody's had that one where you're like shaking the machine so the code kind of falls out. Yeah. So, okay. So now Ethereum, though, is really all about just recognizing this contract that just happened.
All contracts. Now, see, the thing is, it seems, and in order for these contracts to run, you have to pay for the execution of the contract. So as a developer, I developed something that that requires a small contract. And whenever you want to use a certain portion of my program, you'll have to run this. You'll have to execute this program, and that person is going to be charged so much crypto in order to get this program to execute. So, in order for the program to get executed, somebody has to spend crypto money. That's the ether. Ether, because they call it gas. The program needs gas, like gasoline. It needs gas to run. It won't execute unless you pay for the gas. So when people are investing in ether, they don't realize they're paying for the gas of a bunch of smart contracts that are running worldwide for different purposes.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
Now, an example would be a small program that's written on a blockchain that is doing facial recognition.
Okay.
So you walk into a store, facial recognition software kicks in. That facial recognition software is living somewhere in the cloud, and it gets paid with crypto. So it's a smart contract. It's using the Ethereum protocol.
Okay. All right. So you said it's going. Let's just walk this through again.
Sure.
I walk into the store. Here's my face store. Here I come. Huh? And then some bot is looking at that. They go to search who this is or confirm who this is. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Think of it as a bot. There's no person.
Yeah, it's a bot.
Right.
And it's going out. It's going to all these different places.
It's about to do a facial recognition of you, identify you. But that's not free. That's not a free service. That costs money.
Okay.
So the camera.
Who pays? The store? Is it the store itself paying?
Any store.
No, I know, but is it going to be a national thing, or is this just part of business operations?
This is already being done. This is already.
Right. So it's part of business operations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I could easily point you to some real world.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the AI gets enlisted. And it's beneficial to the store to enlist the AI, to enlist.
Now, AI, of course, is artificial intelligence.
Right.
And this artificial intelligence is bigger than the one at the store, or is it a bigger central?
Specialized. Each one is very specialized in doing it.
All right.
Okay. So they're called vertical AI, each silo.
Okay.
So to speak. Okay, so they're all specialized. So an AI, specialized AI, is enlisted to perform a task at some location. Okay. But in order to perform this task, it's going to require payment. That payment is going to be in the form of the crypto. It gets this payment in crypto, and then it executes the operation and then gives the results. Sometimes the AI might enlist the help of other AI communicating with AI, saying, hey, I need some help. And they may kick in, or the AI may not be able to perform the task you're asking for, And so it'll call another AI that is specialized in that task.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I say, temperature sensing. Well, this AI only does facial recognition, does not temperature reading. It might call in another AI that does temperature reading. But in order for him, the temperature reading AI to do service is going to request to AI number, AIA to pay AIB.
Okay.
Okay, so B says, okay, I completed my temperature sensing, my temperature scanning. Here's the results. AIA says, thank you, has paid that one with crypto, which happens to be Ether based, Ethereum based. And then this provides the services back to the retail store, and they finish their transaction, which is also Ethereum based. They're all smart contracts.
Smart contracts. Okay.
So people may not realize that when you're investing these coins and you're thinking, "Woohoo! I'm getting rich. I'm going to the moon." You don't realize you're financing and enabling and solidifying and galvanizing the biosecurity state. You're not going to the moon. You're going to be stuck in your apartment in lockdown forever.
All right, wait, now take that very, very literally, what you said, what you just said. Because a lot of people I know have bought into Bitcoin or a lot of crypto. Some people have been playing with it. They're like, oh, I'm going to be so, and it makes people feel as if it's just like when I worked for the defense contractor and they gave me stocks in their company, all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm rich. I'd look at my stock prices going up and up because it was a defense contractor. We'd go into Iraq. I was like, yeah, we're doing great. And it made me feel much better psychologically, although my regular finances were. So
Right.
I feel like this is a similar phenomena. People look at the Coinbase account, they're like, whoa, I've got a lot in there. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me very literally about what you just said, how you're locking yourself down.
Well, you have all this. We are entering an automated world.
Mm-hmm.
Almost completely automated. Any task that requires any repetition immediately is targeted for automation. If you can quantify the steps of any particular task,
Yeah.
you can automate that and get rid of the human.
I honestly feel like this whole, the whole lockdown of 2020, I honestly feel like the people that are working at home at Zoom or whatever, I feel like they're training AI.
Oh yeah, you are. You are always training AI. Just being on Facebook is training
Yeah.
AI. I mean, Facebook has a tremendous
Yeah.
AI research.
Yeah, that's why these people are so wealthy. But go on. They're buying islands in Hawaii and whatnot. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, data is in high demand.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not just the data; it's also a military thing too.
All right, tell us about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the Department of Defense. Okay. You have to first start from the point of view that whoever gains supremacy with AI gets to rule the world. Whoever gains, I'll even add one more word. This is a whole discussion in itself. Whoever gains quantum computing, quantum AI supremacy, rules the world forever. Because at that point, there's no encryption that's safe. Every secret, every military tactic, strategy, every communication line, every financial exchange, bank account, everything is open. Whoever comes up with a quantum computer and gains AI supremacy rules. And there's no way you could, as a nation, as a foreign nation, you could ever impose a threat on me or make a plan to attack me without me knowing it long before you even think of setting stage one of your action. Because I I would be able to look at all your communication channels, your encrypted communication channels. And I don't even have to look for it. My AI will look for it.
Right.
Every band in the radio frequency uh, bandwidth will be investigated. Anything that's encrypted will be broken. You'll have absolutely no freedom. There's nothing you would be able to do that I couldn't figure out.
Okay.
So that's how the military is looking at that.
Okay, so that's how but is this theoretical still, or is this actually happening? Because when we talk about this, it's like, yeah, it sounds like a science fiction movie. I've seen it before, yeah. But
I think of it as being on the cusp.
Okay.
It may have already happened, because if it ever happens, you can be sure that the Pentagon will never tell anybody.
Yeah.
Never. At that point, it wouldn't matter if they did. They could tell anybody. But I don't think they would ever tell anybody. But my gut feeling, I may be wrong, is that they have not. But that they are concerned. They're concerned there's a race between China and Russia.
Is there really? But is there really? I know there was the race to 5G. In my mind, I think that's for theater.
They're all, I think,
because I think
they're all working with each other, but at the same time, they all have vested interests in trying to jump the other.
Right.
Okay, because they all have egos, they all have pride, they all, they're all nationalists. They all have national feelings. Of course, they want to be better. But I think, and it might be also a self-defense mechanism that kicks in, where identity, self-identity kicks in about, either being Russian history, or being Chinese history, or American history. Each one, although they want to have a world government, I don't think each country in itself wants to lose ground as a leader. And I think the U.S., especially the military, does not want to lose that foothold in military supremacy. And part of military supremacy is intelligence. And intelligence can come by way of artificial intelligence and quantum encryption, quantum computing.
Okay.
Whoever thinks that has the ultimate intelligence tool.
Okay.
And all of this rests on blockchain.
But naturally, sure.
The AI has surpassed the human
Okay.
in processing information. So we've lost control. The AI is over. It's taken over. Okay. And we are generating, what's the word? I think it's petabytes.
What's the word?
Petabytes.
Petabytes. Okay.
No, petabytes, like terabytes.
Yeah.
There's megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, and then there's petabytes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
P-E-T-A.
Okay. Peta. Okay.
So we are generating an enormous amount of data. And the data by itself is useless unless somebody can read it and understand what it means and how it can be used. Right? You get data, you have a collection, let's say you have a pile of books on your table. Unless you read those books, you have no idea what those books are about, how useful they are. It's just a bunch of information that's going unacknowledged and unused and unapplied. So that's where AI excuse me, where's my
Sorry. It's okay. We'll edit.
Talking too much.
No problem.
So that's where AI comes in. AI has the ability to, this is machines. These are machines, and there's different types of AI. There's machine learning. So using machine learning, which is just, doing a lot of fast data reading and sorting and gathering and clustering and organizing, separating, and resorting data. That data is then filtered and used in certain applications, reformatted and used. These machines can do it very fast, instantly, whereas a human would take days, months, weeks, possibly even years. The machines do it incredibly fast. They don't have their own intelligence. They don't have their own thoughts, feelings, none of that. They just have the ability of going through data. And as a developer, as a programmer, you tell the machine how to do a certain thing. Like, you write a little loop, say, take this data, this list, loop through it, and then output this result. And then it takes it, and the list might be, billions of bytes of data. So the little code is small, it runs through the entire list, the whole thing, and outputs the data that you're looking for. And that's what it does. So you have lots of little algorithms like that. And with clever programming, you can create tasks that are able to perform acts that seem magical, like facial recognition, voice recognition, gait recognition.
I like that too. The walking.
These are,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the things that are, people can most relate with.
Yeah, they do that. They were doing that walking thing back in, oh gosh, at least 2001. They were using it as a signature of a person walking.
Yeah, I was doing that. I was able to do that myself. Okay, remember when the Xbox came out?
Yes.
The Xbox came out with the Kinect system.
Yeah.
The Kinect camera.
Yeah.
And you can set up your Kinect, and then you can play in front of it and see your avatar on the TV screen.
Yeah.
Moving as you move.
Yeah.
And you could play baseball and so. Well, that was a motion capture system. And I bought one. I rigged it, and I hooked it up to my computer, and I used it to do my own motion capture for my animations for my game. Mm-hmm. And so it uses LED arrays, again, arrays, right? There's an array of LEDs, and it does a distance check. Checks the volume, checks the distance between the beam that's bouncing off you and being received. And with that is able to, and it has body recognition, character recognition. You can recognize a human. It's built into the Kinect. So, and you can build a skeletal structure. So with that system, you could easily monitor a person's movement, his gait, and then upload it. And then people were saying that Microsoft was extracting people's gait from their Xbox system.
Yeah, I believe
without
that.
their permission.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft had to stop whatever they were doing because it was uploaded. So yeah, this is old technology. I started with motion capture systems because that's all motion capture. You're basically recording points of space, 3D space of certain key points, your elbow, wrist, okay, your arm, your neck, different parts of your body, and you identify those parts of the body, and you track them in 3D space, XYZ coordinates. And so back in the mid '90s, I worked for Acclaim Entertainment, Acclaim Studios, and we did motion capture. We had a motion capture studio. And we had guys set up with their suits with the little
Yeah.
white balls on there, and start doing all kinds of different animations. I mean, not animation, motions and capture. My job was to capture and create this, help with the development of the standard for reading and writing, and then taking it, using it as a rig for avatar, for 3D avatar. I could wrap, you could do a motion, and I could go ahead and wrap a gorilla skin, a gorilla avatar, and see the gorilla perform the same motion that you had just done on the studio. And so, yeah, this is old technology, but it's gotten to the point now where it's really fast because the computer is way more powerful. They can do more number crunching in real time. You've got the 5G network, which is now going to allow a massive amount of data because it's a higher bandwidth. Or the higher bandwidth means there's more waves, frequencies, right? And you can place more bits in a certain amount of time. Okay? So you can do more data crunching. So you can now send massive amounts of data, video, audio, financial transactions, uh, biosecurity, sensing information, just about anything you want. It's such a small packet of, uh, of data, you know, a small packet of information being transferred over the internet with 5G. And then you have 6G, which is going to be exclusive for AI to AI.
Oh, it's for AI to AI. Okay, good to know.
AI to AI, like I was just telling you about how AI will be communicating with another AI and making payments with each other in the form of cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
So that they can affect the world. They can make changes to the world.
Okay.
But when you walk into the store, you either are going to be cleared green or red. And so these AIs will transact to determine if you can do something out here in the world, which is gain entry into the store.
Okay. Now, here, like I said, we grew up in United States. We've all seen these movies that are dystopia and Terminator and all this other stuff. These horrible things that could happen when technology gets out of control. The world's going to blow up, and it's dystopia gender. It's mental. So, is that how it's going to go, or is it going to just be, just easy, like no big whoop? What's the why are we afraid of it because we don't understand it, or I'm not.
Those are good questions.
I think we've kind of been pre-programmed to be afraid of it.
Well, those are good questions. It depends who you talk to. Younger generation, they're all for it. They like the idea of being connected to the net, because there are certain conveniences that you get from it. So all you have to do is comply with certain things. And if you comply with certain things, you get to participate. You get to participate in this digital economy. So we literally are talking about a digital economy where everything is digital. Transactions, your entertainment, your movies, your music, your interactions with people online, virtual, going into the virtual world. That's another discussion right there. I've been developing virtual world half my life. So you see, just like in a game, like a game developer, because I see the parallel. If you want to level up to the next level, you have to meet preconditions. It's just the way it goes in the game. You cannot get to the next level until you meet certain preconditions. And the same thing here. Unless you meet certain preconditions, you are not going to be able to participate in the economy of this game. Because you are like living in a game. You literally are.
All right, so the economy, say this again slowly. The economy that we are living in is we're participating in a game. And I think
It's
that
like a
is a
game.
big thing for people to understand.
You are like literally living inside a digital game.
Okay.
You're real, I'm real, but our entire lives are dictated by these digital rules, like a digital game, and you're being controlled. You are directed to participate and do live a certain way of life according to these rules and structures. And if you don't get to go to the next level. You don't get to advance. You want to go to school, you want to get an education. Well, the new schooling format is now you have to get badges. You know, lifelong learning. You have to get these badges, credentials, and with these credentials, if you're able to show these digital credentials, which are going to be on the blockchain as well, then the company that's hiring will look at these credentials, validate them on the blockchain to see that they're authentic, that they're not forged and copied, okay, that they actually are credentialed to you uniquely, like an NFT, okay, and
Define NFT, I'm sorry.
NFT, non-fungible tokens.
Okay, we see that flying around too. We could do
Yeah. I'm telling you though, it's all connected. You are in a game. You are in a digital game. Okay, and so now with this token, this educational token that says I know that I've been schooled in this specific field or study, allows me now to gain entry into this big job that's going to last me 6 months, which I have to compete with, all the other potential employees globally, because there's no physical location to work at anymore. It's all remote. Everybody's working from home globally.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to compete against everyone else's world for this gig job. But before you can get to that gig job, that shitty gig job, okay, right? You have to get this credential, these badges, so to speak. But that's going to cost you money. You have to pay for that. Oh, and if you don't have the money, you might be able to pay forward, where they'll take it later on. They'll take it out of your salary or your UBI.
Right, like an indentured servant kind of situation.
You'll be an indentured servant, and when we end up living in a cashless society, it's coming very soon. Any debt that is owed could potentially be taken out of your UBI. And if you're not playing by any of the rules or structure, you could be penalized or sanctioned. So with your wallet, your digital crypto wallet.
Okay.
Which is
Now, now here's my question: is there any? Because I know Rhode Island, the state I live in is Rhode Island. There is a blockchain bill right now, and it's really kind of, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm looking at it. It's hooked up to hemp. It's like they're trying to put blockchain and hemp together in the same bill. And is there any sort of regulation of any, like, because while I hear you talking, it sounds like it could turn into some crazy dystopia situation. We've got AI making the choices, like figure out who we are as we walk into a grocery store to buy bread, and then says, oh, you owed somebody some money. We took it out of your UBI and now you don't have money to buy the bread, that sort of stuff. Is there any sort of, and of course, and then the big, thing that's been drilled into me since a kid with these movies is if you're against the system, quote unquote system, they're going to shut you off anyway.
Well, they potentially could. You have different banks and financial institutions that are in the process of instituting their own blockchain. They're permission blockchain.
Yep.
They're not the public type blockchains that Bitcoin operates on. With Bitcoin, anybody can be a miner, which means that you are decentralizing the blockchain. With these institutional blockchains, they love to use the word decentralized and all, but they're not decentralized. The miners, well, there are no miners because there's no crypto mining in these institutional blockchain. There's no mining because there's no public involvement. You just have what they call nodes. A miner is a node, but a miner is actually he's working to win coins. Whereas these nodes, they don't win any coins. The coins are already fixed, they're set, and all they're doing is just making sure that everybody within their network has a copy of the database. Okay, so they're just making a copy of the database. It's just spreading it out amongst themselves. The only way to be a node in an institutional blockchain is that you too must be an institutional organization.
So it's
Okay.
kind of like all the central banks are now.
Right. So all those different central banks will be nodes, insurance companies will be nodes, and other, maybe.
And then ideally, we become our own little node that hooks in and buys their services. And
yeah, you're not a node in a sense.
we're not a node. Okay, we're not a node.
You have no decision in who writes to the block.
Oh,
So these nodes, they write to the block. And when one of them writes to the block, they'll get a copy instantly of the new book.
okay. So what do we as a human, like an actual human walking around, we have to jump, they are obvious, we've talked to Allison, they're kind of morphing the education system, they morph the prison system, the education system, now they're going to the environment, they're getting all these different type of social impact bonds going that are all based on this same sort of blockchain thing. And you said about the badges, that's the system that they're getting everybody
right.
conditioned with. So what if you opt out of that? Can you opt out of it?
Sure, just say no and get out of the city and move into the country. Okay.
And so you do that, and then you would, when this becomes very prevalent, which I'm guessing it will, it sounds like
it's impossible to live in a city and opt out because you can't.
Yeah.
All the businesses, all the stores will be hooked in, and any goods or services that you need being in a city will require that you transact.
Now, you said a city. Now, there's suburbs.
There's suburbs, some suburbs too. It depends like how closely knitted your suburb is to the cities.
Okay,
and
so
how dependent you are on those convenient services.
All right,
You almost literally have to live off the grid.
Yeah. Okay. So,
all
right. So take us into this living off the grid thing, because I understand you have this video game you're working on. Tell us about this project, the video game.
Not yet. It's a ways to go.
Okay, but nonetheless, what's the concept?
It's basically, it's just basically a game.
Yeah.
That depicts what life 10 years from now, say, will be like in this dystopian future.
Okay. So you see it as dystopia.
I see it as
not utopia. You see dystopia.
For me, it's not utopia.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm old-fashioned. Maybe because I like, hanging out in the sun and hugging people.
Yeah.
I don't. To me, living inside, being locked up, and living in a digital world with a headset on and goggles all the time, and being separated from society is not living.
Right.
It seems like that's the direction that we're living in. There won't be brick and mortar stores anymore. There won't be.
That's you can see the bankruptcies happening like nonstop since like a couple of years ago.
Movie theaters, brick and mortar movie theaters gone.
Yeah.
The malls gone. It's all going to be online. If you want entertainment, you have to go online. If you want to buy, you have to go online. If you want to see a doctor, you have to go online. So this is not, to me, what I consider being alive, living. So to me, that's dystopia.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned NTFs previously. The NTFs, now, it's everything going online. I noticed that Elon Musk and his girlfriend, they just had a baby, the girlfriend created some artwork, digital artwork. And
Right.
this had like, they had it open or something online, and she sold it within moments, and it made a couple $1 million, like, I don't know, $6 million or something crazy. And she sold these NTFs. Tell us what that is.
It's a non-fungible, it stands for non-fungible token,
Yeah.
which means that it's an encrypted affirmation, so to speak, like a digital certificate that validates its uniqueness. It's a unique token with its own cryptographic signature, and that there is no other, that any other copy in the world or representation of it in the world that is out there, if somebody tries to make a copy of it, if it does not match this particular cryptographic key, it's a fraud, it's a fake.
All right, the copy, we're talking about like this image that it's like just picture it being like a space, like a space age image. So if anybody takes a copy of the image or makes a copy of the token.
A copy, if anybody tries to make a copy of the image.
Oh, okay.
Of the image.
And then it would show that it's not the exact thing. There's somebody's pulling, like they cut and pasted it and stuck it somewhere. It's not the real.
Let's say you're taking a hike, a trail.
Yeah.
And you see something really unique, really, special, and you snap a photograph of it, and you post it online. And you say, "Look what I found! Look what I discovered!" And you're the first one to ever discover that. But I come along, I make a copy of your image. Right? I can just download your image over the screen, make a copy of it, post it, and say, "No, she didn't take that picture. I took that picture." Who was actually correct and who's not correct? Who's the imposter, the liar? Who's not? Both images are exact replicas of each other.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Exact digital representations of each other. And you can do that. You can do that a million times, and so then you have a million different images with a million owners, all claiming that they were the first ones to take that picture. So in order to avoid that, you take that image and you pass it through what's called a hash function. And that hash function looks at every single pixel. Every pixel is a number, right? It has a value. It looks at every single pixel, combines it, and puts it to this numerical equation, and then spits out this number, a unique number that can only be generated if you try to regenerate this number one time out of like billions and billions and billions of years. It would take you billions of years to reproduce this number. So when this number is generated, it generates a private key and a public key. You have the private key. So you have this private key that you have now ensures that picture is yours. Anybody comes along, they can make a copy of it. But when they put it through the hash function, same hash function, because you got the private key, has to go through. When they put it through the hash function and the number does not match your number, then it's a fake. And everybody in the world can confirm. It's an impossible.
All right. So how is this different than a copyright?
Because it's done algorithmically. You don't need lawyers.
Right. So here's the thing. So somebody sold the NTF. Whoa. In this picture that we were talking about out in the woods or whatever, this lady, whatever. She owns shit. She's got the real one. She's for real. But is it copyrighted? So now a magazine can go like, oh, look at this thing this woman found. And they just used it. And they're not, usually when you have a copyright, somebody has to pay you to use it.
Well, I don't know the details. I don't know
Yeah,
anything
to me,
about
it
it.
seems like just another kind of like layer of this, like, let's make.
Yeah, it's just a total waste of
Yeah,
time
thank you.
and
That's
money.
what I want to say. It looks like, to me, it seems like people who are in this game, they found another layer of the game.
I mean,
Billions of
how many
billions of dollars.
coal? Yeah, how many blocks of coal did it was required to extract from the earth to create that NFT, that what I consider to be junk.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
really, when you think about it like that,
Huh.
but it's useless.
It's
Uh,
yeah, it is. All right. So now, all right,
I
we
do that
talked.
all day long with all
Yeah.
the junk in my house.
All right. So we talked about crypto, we talked about blockchain, we talked about Bitcoin, talked a little bit about AI and how there's different bots going everywhere and different types of AI. And then we talked a little bit about Singularity, a little bit. But now Singularity Net. Singularity Net isn't this tell me about Singularity Net.
Singularity Net is a website. Um, well, I'm gonna call it a website. It's a location. It's a network.
It's a
It's a
network.
network that you can find at singularitynet.io or something like that. You'd have to look it up. I don't remember what it is, the actual URL address. But the the service that they provide, and it's an interesting place. Um, they provide AI as a service. It's they do research. The guy who owns it is Ben Gertzel.
Yeah.
He works for. I mean, he owns this. He runs this, but he also works for Hanson Robotics.
Hanson.
Hanson
Okay.
Robotics is the creator of Sophia the robot. And you know the guy that's always with Sophia, the hippie looking guy,
Yes.
that's Ben Gertzel.
Okay.
Singularity Net belongs to him.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a marketplace. It's a marketplace for AI, and there's literally hundreds of AI there that is submitted by developers, by people. I can write an AI, submit for it to be used, and if it gets listed, and I follow the protocols, a company can utilize if it needs my particular AI service, it will pay it in crypto money by the what's called AGI tokens or Ethereum, and in return, I will make money. Me as a developer,
Okay.
I'll make money from some retail outlet using my AI or some other AI because the AIs can also list other AI, some other AI using my AI or whatever. So you have this big ecosystem, this market of different AIs. You can go there. You can check them all out. You can check every single AI, and you can even sample them. You can even, and they allow you like 15 minutes free, so you can check as many as you can for 15 minutes. And after that, you have to pay. You have to pay in crypto. If you want to use the service, you have to pay crypto. So this is a network of many specialized AIs that work that in theory they could work together. You could create a higher layer, layer above that will use all the different services, and then higher layer to the outside world will look like an intelligent being. You could
And
fool them.
Sophia.
Yeah, like Sophia. Sophia is I don't know how she's designed, but is my best guess is that she's running based on this. That she's made up of all these different types of AIs. And you can see when you go there, you can actually see the section for developers, what are the requirements, how to submit your design, and how you get paid, and how you can how you can have your AI call up other AIs if you can't complete a task and so forth. So, and you get paid. Everybody's making money. They're making money. You're making money. The retail outlets making money. It's one happy family.
All right, and this big happy family, they're all doing a different, they're getting paid in a crypto though, correct?
Yeah, and you don't know what your AI is being used for.
Right. It's just, it's just the way that this is a task that needs to happen, and you figured out this is something the bigger AI community is probably going to want, and you figured out how to do
Yeah,
it.
you just put it out there, and in the real world, however it's used, you don't know, you don't care. All you know is that you're making money, because every time they use it, that's a transaction that rings up my bank account. So, ching, somebody else used my AI. Meantime, that AI could have been used to track down somebody in the woods.
Yeah, right.
I'm
Is there is this a vast market of, this sounds like the biggest
go there. You
AI
should
one.
go there. It's
No, but I
the
mean this,
growing market is growing.
yeah.
So far, it's big.
But Singularity Net, is that like the only place that does this, or is
No, there
there?
are other companies doing the same thing.
Okay,
And you have different cloud platforms that are doing the same thing.
okay.
That Microsoft wants to do it, Google wants to do it, Amazon wants to do it. Because Amazon has the Amazon Web Services that they provide.
Right, right.
Software as a service.
Yeah, all the defense stuff, it's that, I've touched, goes to AWS.
Yeah. So this is a new market. This is a huge market. Okay, and people are jumping on top. AI as a service could be used for all these uh, smart cars, these self-driving vehicles that might enlist all kinds of different AI in order to navigate through the streets, in order to determine in split-second time who's going to live and die.
Wait, say that again. What do you mean there? Split second time, who's going to live and die? What?
A self-driving car.
Yeah.
When a car, this has been discussed in articles and within the AI community.
Go on.
If a car is going to get into an accident and there's multiple parties,
they have to figure out whose life is worth more.
Whose life is worth more? Do I take out the children or do I take out the old lady? One of them is going to die.
I'm sorry to laugh about it. It's so obscene, but it's actually, I've heard about this too.
One has, because of the momentum of the vehicle, the weight of the vehicle, it's impossible to stop. Or there's a tree right adjacent to someone. I can go into the tree, but all my passengers die.
So the AI thinks it through and makes the most logical course.
The AI runs the simulations. It runs the simulation. It does a statistical analysis in the different scenarios very quickly, and then comes up with a final conclusion, and then executes. And it's all predetermined. Okay, so, and here's a scary thing. This is what really I tried to get across to people, is that in a social credit scoring system where we all have a social credit number or score, when that AI, that vehicle goes to make his decision, who's going to go and who's not, he's going to look at your social credit. He's a high social credit. He's an important member to society, even though he's a pedophile, but he's got a high social credit. This person has a low social credit, this little juvenile delinquent. Let me take out this kid.
Yeah. It's for the greater good. It's for the greater good.
It's algorithm. It doesn't care. It's just code. It does exactly what it's told. It has no conscience. It doesn't think. It doesn't hesitate. Somebody writes this. And eventually this scenario is going to come up. And the code is going to do this. Exactly just like that. Because it's code. Somebody writes it, and then the code executes.
So how does a community of people, humans, can they regulate this with laws?
You have to. You need people. But it looks like people are being See, when you say law, that's smart contracts. Contracts is law, by the way.
Right, right.
Okay. So yeah, people are supposed to be in the loop, but apparently, with these public-private partnerships, they're leaving all governments out of the loop. Our votes don't count. Our voices are not really counting. Corporations are making decisions. They are making these decisions. Public-private partnerships. The government is is reneging on their responsibility of taking care of the citizens and leaving it to the corporation to make this new transition to do this social restructuring, this social engineering. And so these guys, the corporations, they're going to do what fits best for their portfolio,
Right.
long-term investment. Okay, they're reshaping the world for their own benefit, for profit margin.
Right.
This is a new market. This is an entirely new market. All this digital processing. So your data is very important. Like the automobile industry or whatever industry is responsible for determining who lives and dies with the AI, making these split decisions, which would be something like at the Singularity Net or something like that. Or maybe it might be some AI as a service being hosted by the Azure cloud system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's what's happening. And I can show you code and show you the actual implementation. You can go to Singularity now and see it in action. You can see it in play. You can see the different AIs that are selling and being used and the cost in crypto. And you can read about this design structure, how it works. And eventually they want to have artificial general intelligence. And the token that's used internally for that whole Singularity Net, the token is AGI token, artificial general intelligence. That's
That's what stands for artificial general
intelligence.
Okay.
An intelligence that can solve any problem.
All right. Is it useful for somebody to invest in that? Like a normal person like me go, wow, if this is what they're using,
Yeah,
is it something that people would want to buy?
Make money on that, sure. But you invest, even when you're not investing and you're buying crypto, you're investing. It doesn't matter what crypto you're buying, selling, trading.
Yeah.
You are indirectly supporting that system because that system has to live off of the Ethereum network. And the entire Bitcoin, the entire crypto space is transacting with Ethereum all the time.
All right. So, but my mind, okay, you said like Bitcoin is like the gold, Ethereum is like the gas. It's like the actual motor.
And Ethereum is the actual gas that makes these smart contracts work.
Right. And the thing is, and you just said, if you are invested in this, and even if you're not, you are, because we're in this system that is very invested in this and it's going to grow.
Yeah.
Tell me more about why it's pulling us into this dystopia again. I'm trying to get this. I know you just said it before.
Well, we're being pulled in because, like I said, like as a game developer, in order to be able to advance and gain any of the privileges in a game, you want to, if you want to go to a certain part of the kingdom, you're going to need this sword, this magical sword. You're going to need some potion. You're going to need some gems and stones and money, some gold. You're going to need certain armor to defend yourself, whatever. You need, in order to advance to the journey of life, you have to equip yourselves. You have to equip yourself with these items that are made necessary for you to survive. If you don't, because the game is rigged, and especially if it's automated now, because the game is rigged, you cannot advance. So if you want the privilege of a simple privilege of going into a store and buying peanut butter and jelly, but the store doesn't allow you because you're not wearing a mask or forget about the mask. You're not, you don't have a passport, a digital passport, which is on the blockchain. Okay, you don't have that passport, you're not gaining entry, and that immediately stops you from having resources.
To get the peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. So now what do? You go to another store.
Or you steal it.
And then you just start to discover, oh, you steal it. But you have cameras everywhere that are looking at you.
Right. And your social credit score just really fell through the floor.
Oh, yeah, your UBI might even be cut off.
Right.
And you might have drones showing up, following you everywhere. Big boards.
Right.
And everybody's cell phone is going off nearby.
Yeah, somebody's a felon is right by you. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
alerting people. Yeah, they're alerting the whole place. All right. Yeah, I can picture it because, like I said, I grew up in America and we've seen all these dystopia type of movies. They've kind of got us programmed for this.
Yeah, and no politicians are pushing back. They're just signing whatever these corporations are saying.
Yeah.
They're going along with it.
Yeah.
They're going along with everything.
They do.
They're not stopping anything.
No.
We have no representatives, really. We have only puppets. They're not pushing back on any of this technocracy.
Yeah. Is there any country that's already using these digital passports?
Yeah.
Which ones? Is it the
Estonia?
Estonia.
Yes.
Which one?
A lot of the countries in Asia. Most of Asia is all on board. They love technology.
Yeah.
They're easy because they're more of a community or communitarian type of mentality. They're more prone to accepting for the greater good, because they think in terms of collective groups. They like it, So you have a lot of countries in Asia, Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, all over the Philippines. Yeah. China, of course.
Yeah.
So Europe is pretty much on board. Everybody almost,
No, but nobody's really pushing back. Not even U.S. You said the politicians are all into it, and you get all these.
I don't see any significant push.
Yeah.
Not for this technocratic system that's rolling in.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
Do you?
No.
Do you know of anything?
I don't. Do I what? Do I own anything?
No. Have you seen any pushback somewhere? I haven't.
I sort of have, but I won't tell you how because I really want this to succeed. So I don't. Yeah, it's kind of a done deal.
You're going to have this central bank digital coin, CBDCs.
Yeah, that's supposed to happen like July or June or July. Because what Powell was just talking, he's on with like these people, the IMF and everybody now, like once a month or it seems like once a week now. Like, why are you having these meetings in public now for us to see this? It's like they're getting everybody ready, like kind of.
Well, they're getting ready. It's supposed to be like in 2023.
Yeah. Oh, guess what else ends in 2023? The experiment with the vaccine. That also ends in 2023.
That ends in 2023 too. Yeah. Coincidence.
Yeah.
Coincidence is a big word. I should be a coincidence theorist.
Yeah, I'll hang out with you. We'll do coincidence theory.
Yeah. Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah. Man. Well, listen, we've been on for a while and I've got to wrap this up. But Joe, thank you so much. And listen, if people want to get in touch with you, I know you have stuff on Facebook where you've kind of pontificated about this, and people should probably go to your Facebook page, or is there something else for you to?
Well, you can go to my Facebook page, Bantam Joe. I also have my own webpage.
Oh, what's that?
Bantam Joe.
Okay, Bantam Joe.
BantamJoe.com.
Okay,
On Facebook is Bantam Joe.
okay.
That's me.
Yeah.
Bantam, because I'm a short guy, and I used to be a bantamweight boxer.
Oh, okay, yep.
And I used to box
All right.
in the bantamweight division, and so I liked it. And I called myself Bantam Joe.
Oh man. All
I'm
right.
still fighting.
And he's still fighting.
Still
Excellent.
fighting.
I love that. Hey, Bantam Joe, thank you so much for being with us on Shadow Citizen. I'll put the contact information with this, and I'm going to edit this down just a little bit because it's little bits might have to
Yeah,
come
go
out.
ahead.
Yeah, but
It was a
everybody.
pleasure being here, and thank you for having me here.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. And everybody, thank you so much for being here. And I hope this was educational for people. And please, next week, we got another really excellent guest too. So stick with us, everybody. We're going to make it through. Somehow we're going to make this through. I'm so excited that I'm meeting these people and having these conversations. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Shadow Citizen with Rachel L. McIntosh.